Today's episode is called Fall Activities. Check your winter fire alarms. That's right. That's what just happened here live. David Herman, the good sport from Gardener's Supply, is here with us. We just had to evacuate the third floor of the Bakersfield, California, here in the Dignity Health Studio. You got to see the kind of the backside of the Californian there.
Yeah, what a treat. Thank you very much.
We had to rush. We were both looking at each other. The alarms were going off, and things were a little bit crazy here, but we'll get back to that. It was a false alarm, thank goodness. The previous two were not false alarms. We did have a fire here about 6 months ago. All right, let's talk a little bit. We got a lot to talk about, actually, David. We got to talk about winter ryegrass, dormant lawns, and fescue. And this is a huge issue for a lot of people, how to manage this, right?
Yeah, this is, even though it's warm, we're coming into what we call winter ryegrass season. It seems kind of strange because it's still, summertime, but we have to think about our winter grass.
Okay.
Your winter grass is what you often have 5 or 6 months out of the year. So this is, half your lawn if you are a person who has Bermuda lawn. And the reason we get ryegrass down when it's warm is it takes about 60 days for that seed to germinate, the roots to deepen, it to tiller out. To have an established grass takes good 60 warm days. And so that's why we have to start this seed so soon.
Because if you play golf, a lot of times you'll see golf courses that they begin this process like in August, or they're already into this process already with the scalping and overseeding and everything.
Yeah, they're using the heat to their advantage, and they use some chemicals to slow things down so they can start this process too.
Okay. All right, so don't forget, these guys are over on 2920 Landco Drive, Suite number 2, and take a look at their website. And I tell you what, these are usually some of the most informative videos, and I'm going to learn a lot. So David's the expert here, but we got a bunch of things we're going to show off. First thing first, we're going to show off the scalping part, right?
Yeah, this is one most people know about, and it's scalping their yard.
Okay.
You're basically taking it down to the dirt with your mower.
Okay.
They think this is the only part of the process, though, and a lot of gardeners, that's all they'll do, or homeowners as well. It's important, but it's not the only part.
Okay.
We do have to take it down, but we're only getting down to thatch. There's still a lot of root and still a lot of soil below that. We have to expose that soil and thin it out or dethatch it.
Okay.
So even though we scalp, the next thing we have to do is dethatch.
Now, this part right here, this is the actual scalping process? Or?
Yeah, that's the renovating machine.
Okay.
Okay, and so this is going through it like with a little blade or little teeth. It's thinning out the top part of the root structure. It's not damaging the root structure, but you get a lot of thatch buildup on the surface that precludes water from penetrating and nutrients from penetrating. You have to thin that out so that seed can go down to the soil, into the soil.
Okay.
When it germinates, it can attach.
Okay. And then we go through, and this is
This is for people who like to use a little muscle. This is a hand tool that dethatches.
Okay.
And we have these, and if you have a small yard, this is something you can do rather than renting a machine, which can be $40 to $80. Gardeners can charge sometimes a couple $100, but in all due fairness to them, they have to fill up their truck a couple of times with green waste, taking your thatch to the green waste.
Right, because you're going to see that here in a second. If you've had that Bermuda hybrid grass, there is a lot of this part here, and look at all this. This is incredible.
And that's not a very large yard.
Yeah.
And now they probably didn't scalp first, and so there's some of the blade tissue as well. But nonetheless, even if you scalp and renovate, it takes a lot of green waste to clear it out. And this has to happen once a year for a healthy yard to keep it healthy, because that thatch builds up so much, we got to clear it out.
Okay. So that would be, for most people though, that's like obviously a front yard, but some of these yards in Bakersfield, they're pretty sizable.
They are, and that's when it's good to perhaps have a gardener do it for you or rent the machine and plan a good day or two effort.
Okay. All right, and then this, tell me what we're looking at here.
Well, once you've scalped it, once you've dethatched it, you're ready to lay your seed, but we're very particular about the type of seed you lay. And I blew this up just so that you could see, we really care about the pure seed there in the left center.
Okay.
We really like a pure seed, and we like a low weed seed content. You can get a lot of seed all over the valley, but it's not as careful to keep the weed seed out, and the purity isn't protected as much. And we make sure to use only perennial rye, no annual rye.
Okay.
They grow differently, and that can create problems.
Explain that a little bit too. If we have a little bit of time, tell me a little bit of the difference between perennial and the other types.
Perennial will grow year round. Okay. The only reason it goes away in the spring or summer is because the Bermuda roots come back.
Okay.
And then they choke out the ryegrass, and now the Bermuda's back and running.
Okay.
The annual only grows in the cool part of the winter, and it browns out sometime in March.
So you can have a brown-looking yard if you use the annual.
If you use the annual, that browns out before the Bermuda comes back, and so we have a brown out phase.
Okay.
So perennial allows for a perfect green to green transition.
Okay.
Perennial also provides what we call natural endophytes. It's kind of a fancy way to say it fights fungus for you through the winter. If you don't use perennial ryegrass, you use annual or you let it go dormant, you can get a fungus in your lawn. And 30 years ago, we had a lot of fungus.
Yeah, isn't that one of the biggest challenges with a lot of yards and lawns is that, I mean, obviously weeds are a big thing, but a lot of funguses you can still see, right? I mean, is that a pretty common problem for people today?
It used to be for Bermuda about 30 years ago. It was called spring dead spot. We'll have a photo of it here a little bit later on. Once we started using perennial ryegrass, it was fighting against it. And so now people may have forgotten what it looks like.
Right.
But if more people choose to let that lawn go dormant, or if they switch to an annual ryegrass because the perennial is getting more expensive, they're going to start seeing that spring dead spot again.
Okay. And then this is our next one. Here is our next slide.
So we're very picky about the type of seed you use. We want it to be pure and of the highest quality. Same thing with fertilizer.
Okay.
And that's why we are unique and we blend all of our 5 fertilizers. So for example, the nitrogen is split into 2 types. One type releases kind of quickly, but most of it releases slowly. Again, that's important because you want a slow release fertilizer with your slowly germinating, establishing seed. Has to have nutrition through the whole process. If you put a fertilizer down that's gone in 3 weeks, well, your grass isn't established yet. It still needs that nutrition. So we calibrate this to work with the seed properly.
Okay.
So it's very important to us get your seed started right with the right kind of fertilizer. And along with it, we make sure that you have phosphorus for your roots and you have potassium for your cell walls and the health of your grass. And we also use irons that don't stain. That's pretty important around sidewalks and pools.
It's amazing, I mean, it just reinforces the science and the work that goes behind just to do your yard. The good science you're working on here and some of the chemical work you're having to do as well. So it's pretty amazing stuff. All right, okay, now here you go. This is something you need to know about.
Right, we saw this in a slide in one of our shows in the not too distant past. When you put that seed down, you have to adjust your sprinklers.
Right.
If you don't know how to work with these, this is a great time to learn. And if you feel like it's daunting, we'll help you. Gardeners know how to do this. Hopefully some neighbors too.
I'll have to say in my previous home that I had and I'm tech savvy, I think. I feel like I can manage a lot of things. That thing often befuddled me beyond all belief.
I've done it a few times myself to make sure I can counsel people through it. This hunter, the Rainbird, they're pretty intuitive now. I'm not sure what they once were. They're not little tabs you have to pull out and move or feel like it's old technology. This isn't too bad. The learning curve isn't too steep. And once we can show you how to set this, it's going to make all the difference for the seed. The difference is this. When your grass is established, it needs water once a day, let's say, in the morning. Well, when you're putting new seed down, it needs water throughout the day at little intervals to keep the seed properly moist.
Right.
You don't want to flood it, and you don't want it to dry out. So every 3 hours, you're going to have to put a couple minutes of water out there. So you have to set this to go off 4 times.
Wow.
We'll tell people 7 a.m. and 10 a.m., 1 p.m. and 4 p.m.
Right.
3-hour intervals, enough to keep it moist, and as it's just beginning to dry out, you've got another shot of water.
Okay.
You've got ABC stations, and on each station, you can set it to go off 4 times.
Interesting.
So I could actually walk somebody through it in about 2 or 3 minutes, and they would feel confident, even you.
I feel much more confident already. To just this is what I love about this particular segment is I'm learning already a lot about this. Now here's a lawnmower, and this obviously plays another critical role in the whole thing.
Yeah, we need to put away the reel mower or the front throw mower that we use all through the summer.
Okay.
We have to pull out our rotary mower. The rotary blade spins. When it's cutting the grass, it's not pulling up on the root structure. So it's allowing that grass to grow without stressing it when you cut it.
Okay.
The front throw pulls up on the root structure and it can damage the root structure.
Okay.
It can be done, but it increases the chances of the grass to not do very well.
Now that front throw mower, that's what keeps that Bermuda looking, like a golf course.
Exactly.
Right?
You're cutting it 3/4 of an inch tall. Some people go an inch tall. Well, with this, we're going to encourage you to set it 1.5 inches to 2 inches tall.
Okay.
That ryegrass does so much better when it's a little bit taller and it looks amazing.
Okay. All right. I'm learning all the things I made mistakes on previous lawns already. It's both fascinating and humbling at the same time. All right, fertilizer, critical piece of this thing too.
Yeah, so we just talked about another fertilizer, 1688, which was slow release to go down with the seed. Now we're going to deal with our fertilizer that's the exact opposite to that.
Okay.
This is Turf Royale, 21-7-14. this releases immediately when it hits the ground, and when the fog hits it or the first sprinklers hit it, it disintegrates right away.
Okay.
That's important when it's cold because you don't have the sun and the heat of the soil to break the fertilizer down. It's the only fertilizer that we have found in this valley that we carry that will actually break down, and this is why we brought this in very particularly.
Okay.
And this is going to help that grass stay green through the winter. And it's really important to get this down around Thanksgiving before our first frosts come, because when those frosts come, they suck all the nitrogen out of that grass,
Right.
out of our bushes, out of our trees. If you get this in there, you have the best chance against what we call denitrification, where the nitrogen is pulled away and it's gone and you have a yellow ryegrass.
Okay.
This is your best defense.
All right. And then coming up here is a combination of other things too, right?
Yeah, these are the pre-emergence that we encourage around Thanksgiving time. The one on the left is pendimethalin. It controls grassy weeds.
Okay.
The one on the right is isoxaben. It controls broadleaf weeds. May not mean a lot, but when you come in wanting to learn how to control certain weeds, these are the two major families that we control those weeds.
So I mean, that's what's interesting about it too, is that if you just go to your big box store, you'll just grab it out. You could totally. I would never have thought to do both.
Right. The one on the left, the pendimethalin, there are others out there like it.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to control POA. It looks like rye, but gets little white seed heads on top,
Okay.
look like wheat, and that's what controls it. The one on the right, on the other hand, controls spurge, which we see in the summer, but the one we get in February is burrweed. It gets little stickers on it, and we
Okay.
have to start controlling that at Thanksgiving, or you'll start seeing it in your grass in early spring.
Interesting. Okay, moving on to this next slide.
Yeah, this is for people who decide to let their lawns go dormant.
Okay.
So rather than putting the seed down, they're not scalping and renovating, putting the slow release in the seed. They're putting a root boosting fertilizer down, de-emphasizing nitrogen, emphasizing phosphorus, potassium. We're really boosting those roots, helping the grass stay green as long as possible and come out as early as possible in the spring. The 7 is still fast enough to keep that grass green.
I'm kind of thinking here, and John, if you correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we need to put a whiteboard up right here, and that David can get up there and just start teaching.
I'm tempted. If you didn't have me sitting here, I'd be up there writing.
I mean, it's just amazing, all this stuff here. This is incredible. Okay, now we go to fungus control.
Yeah, this is when we want to prevent that spring dead spot. If you're letting your lawn go dormant, it's really important. Or if you're letting your lawn have annual ryegrass, it's really important to think about the fungus that is very probable. So when you put this fungicide down in the winter, you're going to prevent that spring dead spot. The next slide will show you what spring dead spot
Yeah,
looks
here it
like,
is.
and I hope nobody learns what it is.
Yeah.
We have forgotten from years past, but I have a feeling we're going to see a lot of it this next spring.
Okay.
But I want to make sure people have a chance to be preventative.
And that's actually as a result of the fungus there.
That is.
Okay.
When you don't have the ryegrass down, that has the endophytes in it that fight this fungus.
Right.
Take the perennial ryegrass out, the annual ryegrass does not protect, and then the dormancy does not protect.
Okay. And then last but not least.
Yeah, there are a lot of us who have fescue or Bakersfield mix, which is a mix of fescue and rye. And so on the very top line of our annual pre-emergent guide, we show you how to take care of it. You want to maintain your pre-emergence, you want to boost those roots, and then you're going to do those pre-emergence there in the winter.
That's a spectacularly helpful because it gives you kind of like the time frames. And I think the thing that I'm struck by the most is that I kind of just would mow my grass. I would kind of try to pay attention to it. I would try, but this is a good guide of around key events. By the Super Bowl, you want to do this, or you want to do this on this date, and that's really, really important. So.
Timing is everything. With pre-emergence, you want to get them down ahead of the time.
Okay.
Fertilizers ahead of time.
All right. Don't forget, get these guys, visit them. They know so much. It's been impressive to talk to you guys. What else is going on with Gardener Supply? What else are you guys working on?
Well, we're doing a couple fun things. We're starting to work with baseball fields at the Hearn High School District, helping them
really?
build mounds and take care of their baseball fields. We already take care
Is
of
that
their football
something new,
fields.
or is that something that you
We're
guys
doing about 2 years now, but
Okay.
we're really getting in the groove of it and teaching them how to build those mounds properly and take care of their first base, third base side, batter's box. So that's been kind of exciting for us.
It's interesting. We're in the heart of football season too, and I have to say the fields look pretty good. They look fantastic.
As long as they stay faithful to put that 7-20-20 down, they keep their grass. And
Right.
that's all they pound those fields with. They make sure that root builder is down, and that comes from Gardener Supply.
Interesting time indeed. All right, well, we apologize for the shenanigans earlier with the smoke detectors, the smoke alarms going off. But
That made it fun.
Absolutely. David, thanks so much for joining us again. They are at 2920 Landco Drive, Suite number 2, Bakersfield, California. Check out their website, gardenersupplyinc.com. Go in and see them, right?
Absolutely. We'd love to have
All
you.
right. Next up, waiting patiently. She's waiting patiently is Cassidy Goodson of Clarity Mortgage. She's going to talk to us about home loans. So we'll be right back after these messages on the Real Estate Show here on Bakersfield.com.